There are three main kinds. So the least harmful is called occulta. The back doesn't necessarily close properly. The bones don't close properly, but the skin closes properly. And there's a lot of people walking around that have it, don't even know they have it, because they're able to walk and run, but they may experience lower back pain. There's a second version where the back doesn't close, but the spinal cord stays in. And so when the child is born, when the baby is born, there might be an opening in their back, but that would be about it. In his case, his back was open and the spinal cord was actually out. That is the worst kind. And for him, actually, the higher up the opening in the back, the more that's affected. So he was actually at the L1 level, which means that he's affected from that point down. There's nerve damage and there's issues in his back from that level down. So that is from the hips on down. There are issues with him. I'm Jennifer Tomc, and this is my son Spencer. Spencer's 4 years old, and Spencer was born with Spina Bifida and Hydrocephalus. His back didn't close in utero, and so he has nerve damage along his back. That's affected his legs and his mobility and some bladder and bowel control as well. We knew at our 18-week ultrasound, we were told that they found the sac on his back. We could actually see it in the ultrasound. And so we were told at that point that he would have issues. Originally they thought it was a little lower down. When they did the MRI, they realized it was higher up. And we watched it throughout the pregnancy. With the version of spina bifida he has, or neural tube defect, it's called the myelomeningocele. Because the spinal cord is protruding, is out of the back, it also pulls the brainstem back. And so he has a shunt, he has a VP shunt, because the cerebral spinal fluid normally exchanges between the brain and the back through holes in the back of our head. Because his brain was pulled back, those were closed off, and so he needed a bypass. So the day he was born, they put a shunt in, and they closed up his back. And so he was in 7 or 8 hours of surgery the day he was born. And so back home, when we were given the diagnosis, we were told to expect that he would live in a wheelchair, that he would have limited mobility, and and we would do PT and things to be able to teach him how to cope with his disability, but that was about it. So there was never discussions around trying to fix or repair any of the nerve damage in his back. We also understand that we know that his back, because it didn't close, the bones have flared open. So we know there's two issues with his back, but we firmly believe if we can start to repair some of the nerves in his back, that we will see him gain use of his legs and be able to increase his mobility. He's been born with a determination and a drive that is amazing. He wants to find ways to do things. He wants to find ways, when somebody tells him he's not going to be able to do it, that's his cue to find a way to do it. And so he figured out how to go downstairs. It took us about 10 minutes to teach him how to go downstairs. He started to figure out how to go upstairs. So that determination and that drive he's been born with it. Well, we believe God has given it to him, and he is just amazing with finding a way to do things. He has a brace that he walks in. He's one of the youngest ones that our PT has worked with in that brace, and we kind of pushed a bit to get him into that brace. He had it mastered within a month, and she was absolutely amazed, because most kids, it takes them, they don't get it till they're well into their 3s, and it takes them a while to master it. He was able to figure it out in about a month, and is doing things in it that they can't believe he does in it. I came from the knowledge that if you don't crawl, your brain isn't developing properly. And when we asked our pediatrician if that was the case, he said, oh, that's old school. He said, just because he's not crawling doesn't mean that he should have any developmental delays. At about 18 months or so, we did some assessments and determined that yes, there were some cognitive delays that were happening. His speech was delayed, his attention was delayed, his memory was delayed, and there were some issues around that. At that point, it was a good, strong kick in the butt for us, because we started to look at what we could do to fix some of the cognitive issues as well as the physical side. We went onto the internet and started to look at understanding why when we move our body we develop our brain, and so we've worked with a couple of therapists along that. We also bought an exercise machine that has been phenomenal for him, not only from a physical point of view but from a cognitive point of view. We've managed to eliminate all of his delays except for a slight speech delay. He is showing on par with all other children, and actually advanced on some of the things where he's recognizing letters of the alphabet, and he's counting and recognizing numbers, and so we've actually eliminated most of the cognitive delays till now. And we've also, with some of the therapies, started to see some movement in his toes, some movement in his legs, started to see that we can build some of those neural pathways in his back and get him to start using his legs more. We've looked at some other therapies for triggering some of the nerves, rebuilding the neural pathways. We're doing some taping things with him. So we tape the feet to be able to, and his legs to be able to trigger messages back up to the brain. I've read lots of books and talked with lots of therapists about techniques and things to be able to advance him. And with each thing that we've tried, we see a little bit more and a little bit more, and we keep building on that. And so we believe that we haven't seen the end of his abilities, and we are continuing to build on that. And stem cells are just a natural progress. We believe that it will give us a huge jump. Where the other therapies are giving us little bits here and there, we believe this will give us a big push and really try to, or really help to advance his abilities. It isn't that new, and that's what we found as we started to research. It's been around for 40 years. As we started to do the research, I kept telling people it's probably better nowadays to be a mouse with a spinal cord injury than a human being, because they're getting great therapy and they're getting great recovery, and even being a sheep, right? So they start on the mice and the sheep, and they're getting great results, but as a human being we're so far off of getting the results. We've always believed that embryonic is not an option for us. Umbilical was the option that we chose, or that we were most comfortable with, and the risks are minimal and the rewards could be amazing. And that's one of the fights we've had back home. They talk about needing to do double-blind studies with things, right? My son is a double-blind study. He doesn't know to not move his legs. He doesn't know that when you tell him to move his legs, that he should move his legs. There is no such thing as a placebo effect with a child. They don't fake it. They don't fake things like not moving your legs. Trust me, if that child could move his legs, he would. He'd be walking, he'd be running, he'd be jumping, he'd be climbing, he'd be doing all of it. There cannot be a placebo effect with him, because he has the determination that if he could make his legs move, he would make them move. So any of the gains that we're seeing are directly related to the therapies that we've done, and the therapies that we're doing here. Like I said, there's no way he can fake it. I understood everything that I needed to understand to be able to feel comfortable with being here. And even coming here, the doctors have been very open. Have you got any questions? Have you got any concerns? This is why we're doing IVs versus spinals. It was all explained to me. They come in every day, ask if there's any changes, if we have any questions. We've had the professor from the university, the neurologist, coming with his students. Do you have any questions? What can we answer for you? So even being here, if we've had questions, if things have come up, concerns have come up, the doctors have always been available and supportive of what our any concerns or any questions that we've had for him. So like I said, we pretty much knew what we were doing when we got here. Families who are in similar situations and have various therapies, not just the stem cells, but various therapies that have worked for them. And what works, what doesn't work, what to try, when to try it. Having a family that's gone through it is way different than a therapist that's using it, or a therapist that's read about it and working with it. The experience is vastly different. When I look for research or look for, I tend not to look at people's stories to look for what's going to happen with Spencer. Every child is different, every situation is different, every possibility is different. So when I was looking at that, I was looking at the story, I was looking for experience actually on what we should do when we're here, what we should bring, those kinds of things. And what kind of things to do around town from families who have been through the situation. I also celebrated with a lot of families who are seeing changes in their children that may have happened in spite of the stem cells, but likely not. And so you celebrate with those families and you're amazed and telling people. We've had other family members who have read those and are so excited about the families that have seen successes here. And you really get to know, even via internet, you get to know those families, and you get to feel for those families, and you get to walk in their shoes. And so it's an amazing website. We started researching and connecting with other families who have done this. A lot of the families that we have talked with have children with brain injuries or cerebral palsy, and a lot of the therapies that we've done have been designed or have been trialed with children who have CP. Spina bifida is similar in that you have a neurological condition, but we seem to be trying things that a lot of families with children with spina bifida aren't trying, or we seem to be pushing the envelope with some of that. That kids with CP, I believe that kids with CP, the door is left open. The doctor says, we don't know really how bad the damage is. We don't know. We know that the brain will repair itself. We don't know exactly what the end result is going to be, so we'll try things. With spina bifida, it's almost cut and dry. We know here's the issue. If we haven't seen by a year that nerves are working, we're not going to gain anything. We've never believed that, and so we continue to look for things and try a lot of the things that therapists, or a lot of therapies that have been tried on kids with CP. So we've connected with these families, talked with them, and researched stem cells and said, okay, what can they do? Can they repair the nerves? Can they start to build on some of the stuff that we've already done? And we had looked at various places. So we looked not only at China, we had looked at Mexico. And the program here is just first class. So it's not only the stem cells, but the PT and the acupuncture and the electric wave therapy. All together, it's a first class package that you get of therapy for our child. So once we made a decision as a family, we talked with our parents, and they were very supportive. They had questions about it, what we were doing. Would it hurt him? Would he lose any of the abilities he has? And we were upfront and very honest with them. We then sort of expanded our group to tell some close friends and a couple of doctors that we've worked very closely with. We've had mostly supportive reaction. We've had some mixed reaction, but mostly supportive for us coming here.